Hello, Graham Vincent, violin maker and musician in the workshop again. Today I'm going to be gluing up backs and fronts, but also got a couple of other things to do. First of all, bit of a, I think the term is a cock up, really, to be honest. On these moulds that I was discussing, I glued the blocks on, shaped them, and then thought, oh, I know, rather than soaping the edge here so that it doesn't stick out, why don't I try putting a little bit of linseed oil on there? And I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but immediately, you can see it there, definitely, immediately the linseed oil soaked straight into those blocks. So all those blocks have got to come off, and I've got to redo that, and I'll stick with using soap in future. So that was a bit unfortunate. I've also I decided to make a third violin, so I'm making 2 violins, which I will discuss at some stage in the near future, but I'm also going to do a more standard one, which will probably be for me. This one, I pulled this old mould which I'd used on violin number 41. I'll use that one. I hadn't actually glued the blocks on this, so the fact that I used oil on this one didn't matter so much, but there we go. So 1 step forward, 2 steps back, really. I've just got to finish sawing up the last of these pairs, and then I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fronts or backs to glue together. So what I'm going to do is I will talk my way through one of those, because people seem to find it quite interesting when I did the last one. I think I might actually show you me gluing the blocks in place as well, and then I'm going to probably just leave the camera running, but just stick it on time lapse for the gluing all the others together, so you can get an idea of how it goes, basically. So on we go. Just let me finish this, and then I will I'll start on gluing things up.
Well, I've had to do a bit of editing, so I thought I would do a voiceover for the first time ever as well. Yeah. Wow. Oh, it's just making me feel tired watching, but it's not such hard work as it looks, and it is good for you. Good exercise, I guess. There we go. Some of these arrived partly cut, but there were several in the batch that were completely uncut wedges, so yeah, they did need a bit of sawing. I just spotted the fact there was a metal cleat on the end of the old scaffold board there. That's why I turned the stool around. There we go. As usual, I'm experimenting. I think I tried about 3 different methods of getting these blocks off. First of all, starting with a chisel, and then I thought, well, I've got these little nicks in the mould specifically for prying blocks off, so why don't I try that? So I think I had a go at that next. Yep, that's what I did. And it was then I realised that just whacking the blocks with the mallet seemed to be working really well. So I think I just moved over to that. Yep, there we go. Yep, definitely brute force and ignorance approach seems to work well there. And the same again. Just obviously had to clean up the bits of the blocks that were stuck to the moulds before I could put the new blocks on. Sharp chisel, which I'll get back to in a minute. And a cup of tea, very important. The sharp-eyed amongst you might be wondering what timber these blocks are, and this ties in with this pair of violins that I've just started making. And I think, yeah, might be starting to get an inkling of what it is there. Something a bit special for a customer order. Well, that angle really makes my belly look huge. Well, I'm hoping it's not that bad. Still, that's just been Christmas. And this time I'm putting some soap on these parts of the mould where you don't want the ribs to stick. This is one of the danger points when you glue the ribs to the corner blocks. It's quite easy to glue them to the mould as well. So what I'm doing is I'm putting a reasonable amount of soap in here now. Some of that will get shaved off when I shape the block, so I'll revisit this and put a bit more on, but it's easy to get a whole load of it on quickly and easily now without the blocks in the way, so that's what I'm doing. I've used all sorts of things to stop ribs and linings gluing to moulds. I've used clear sellotape's good, just stuck on the mould, but it's a bit of a faff actually. It takes longer than applying soap. I've also I did one of them with blue masking tape, and that was a mistake because I ended up with little bits of blue tape stuck to the inside of the violin, inside of the rib garland, which I had to clean up, which actually was more annoying than you might expect. And then I moved away from tape completely because I decided you do better to use a varnish or a soap, because it doesn't stick, it doesn't get transferred to the violin rib garland, so it just makes life a lot easier further down the line. So I think a lot of people use soap. Correct me if you know otherwise. I mean, I suppose one of the nice things about soap, of course, is it is water soluble. So as you're using a water-based glue and everything, when you're cleaning up the violin, if any has managed to get transferred to the ribs, then it's absolutely a non-issue. Like I say, I'm kind of, like many things, still kind of experimenting, although this seems to work very well. I think this is where my awkward nature kicks in, because I think most people would just go, people tend to use soap, let's use soap. I, on the other hand, tend to want to explore all of the different options myself. Quite often I get back to whatever everyone else is doing. So, more fool me, probably. Got all my oversized blocks fitted. Obviously I'll have to mark out shapes, rough cut them on the bandsaw, then I'll cut them down to close to the finished thickness as well.
and then I'll start getting the form really nice. Took a little bit longer than expected. Managed to stab myself in the thumb with the chisel. That wasn't nothing serious, but actually it was really interesting, a salient sort of lesson there, because it wasn't me cutting or doing anything. It was when I'd stopped, put it down, and just was moving it around, and I just ran the chisel into my hand. So must remember to be careful of it at all times. And also managed to virtually boil my glue pot dry whilst I was mucking around as well. So yes, we're getting there slowly, moving forward. All right, next, let's start on these sides. No, not sides, fronts and backs. So what am I doing? Well, I am jointing together a whole load of fronts and backs. I've got to do a couple. I've got the timber for a whole load of them, so I thought, well, whilst I'm at it, I might just as well go through the process several times. I've done a video on this before, so I don't want to bore you. So I'll go through the first one and just chat away, and then I'll probably move it on to sort of a time lapse or something, so you can see the rest whizzing by if you wish to do so. So let's just start. As a job lot of timber, I seem to have got what looks like Western Red Cedar. I think that's what that is. So yeah, I have a particular violin in mind for that, so let's start with that one. So just make sure I've got this book matched. That's not a match, that's not the same piece. Okay, well it seems my job lot of timber has arrived with two sets that are matched and one set that isn't. So, well, it isn't a set, two halves, two separate halves if you like, but they're not bad, so I'll carry on and joint them up. I've got to make myself a violin at some stage. I wouldn't mind a mismatched pair, so probably going to end up being mine then, I suspect. So the way I do these, and you will know this if you've seen my video already, is I just put them in a device side by side. I rely on complementary angles when planing, so that when you take one out and put it on there, it will be straight and true, across. Obviously got to rely on my own skill and judgment to get it straight this way. Using my lovely old 90-year-old plane. It's a record with rosewood handles. Would have been made in England. Well, you can date them fairly accurately. This is somewhere between 1932, which is when Stanley's patent on these things ran out in the UK, and 1939 when they moved over to a war finish. And this comes in that 32-39 period, when the DIY market didn't really exist. I mean, these were very much being made for professionals, and the quality is accordingly, I don't know, it just feels a bit better made. This one's been used a lot, but looked after. Still not managed to flatten the joint yet. There's a bit more to do here. Having to take off a bit more than I normally would. That's not what you want. It moved it nice. This job lot of timber is very old, actually. It's sort of probably was bought by a violin maker 35 years ago. So it's well seasoned. Nearly there. A little bit more. Right. Okay. I think we're basically there. Spot on, lovely joint. It's gelled. It's set. Good. I think I might do all the softwood ones first of all. Whilst I'm in a softwood frame of mind.
So yeah, I think I set the time lapse a little bit fast, really. So you can't really see anything meaningful in this. But I was basically just repeating the process that I did just now. On one or two of them, where there was a really contrary sort of grain, I had to sort of do one side and then the other, just on the last couple of strokes, but pretty much using my normal technique.
We've got the C bouts glued in on both of the wormy chestnut fiddles.
Wormy chestnut, you heard it here first. Yeah, there we go. That might mean something to the Americans.
The rest of the ribs go on tomorrow. Fantastic, looking forward to that. Moving along quickly there. Just got to cut some material down for the ribs.
So this is for the third violin on the MDF mould, which is just a figured maple one. And then using my little jig, my little hold down, just to thickness the ribs. Just had to sharpen my block plane. That is one of the tools that I've had since I was 18, actually. Quite a few of them still. With figured grain on some of these ribs, you have to scrape most of it, but this particular plane, this blade, and this particular piece of maple, it was quite happy just to plane without any tear out at all. But I went on and finished with a scraper. Anyway, that was pretty much that day done. Tomorrow I will be bending those C-bouts, putting them into the third mould, and thicknessing the ribs for the upper and lower bouts on all the violins. So hopefully I'll get a video out in the next few days where you'll see the rib garlands all together. But that's it pretty much. Anyway, thanks very much for listening. Cheers folks, look after yourself, bye.